Welcome to Intentional Divorce Insights. I'm Leah Hadley, certified divorce financial analyst, accredited financial counselor, and the founder of Intentional Divorce Solutions. I'll be your guide through the complexities of divorce, finance, and emotional wellness. Join me as we uncover practical tips and empowering insights to help you navigate your divorce with clarity and intention.
Welcome back to Intentional Divorce Insights. I am so happy that you are here with me today. You're in the right spot. We have a wonderful guest today. This is Angeline Constantinou, and she has quite the story to share. She lived in silence, trapped in an abusive relationship that had stripped her of her confidence, her identity, and her voice. And when she finally broke free, she discovered that escaping wasn't the end of the journey. It was the beginning of her transformation. The real healing came when she learned to reclaim her power, rebuild her confidence, and write a new story for her life. Today, through Let's Break the Silence, she empowers women around the world to do the same, to move from victim to victor by breaking free, healing, and reclaiming their voice. Thank you so much for being with us, Angeline.
Leah, it's such a pleasure and honor to be a guest on your wonderful podcast show. I'm really looking forward to sharing some insights and sharing my story with your audience today.
Excellent. So, Angeline, tell us a little bit more about your story. You know, you've read a little bit in your background, but I'm sure there's a lot more to it. So tell us a little bit about kind of what happened and how that led to where you are today.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Yeah. So it began a long time ago. So my journey, I used to be married to whom I thought was going to be the love of my life forever. This is once upon a time. So let me just share this story. Once upon a time, I used to be married to who I thought was going to be the love of my life. He ran a successful advertising direct mail business in New York City. And we met through a church, through one of the churches. And, he was very charming and very outgoing. And I was in my 20s. So, I was in my 20s. So I was actually not even looking, but, he captured my heart. And long story short, we got married at Justice of the Peace in August of 1989, I'm sorry. So make a long story short, he wore the mask. So meaning when someone wears the mask, they don't show their true selves. So it was not right away, but like later on, I started to work at his business and I was out on the road. I was bringing in six-figure income for the company that, I was with. It taught me a lot of things about sales and everything. But the mask started to come off little by little. And his behavior was bipolar. He started to become verbally abusive, verbally blaming me for things that never happened. He was gaslighting me, ignoring me. And one night in December of 1999, I was lying in bed. I was crying because he was just putting me down. And he was very jealous because I had male friends. And I had started to transition out of working for him to work in corporate America at that time to make a name for myself because I felt that I lost my sense of self-worth. So he literally pushed me against the wall. I fell backwards. I broke my nose. I was bleeding. And he took me to the emergency room in a local hospital. And this was upstate New York. So, I recovered from that. But it was, people will always ask, well, why didn't you leave sooner? It's because we feel ashamed. And for me, coming from a Greek family, we were conditioned to believe you stay married for better or for worse, even though he hits you or abuses you. And I was not about to do that. So for the last 5 years of my marriage, I worked on myself. I worked in corporate America. I started to make a name for myself, and I started to become involved in the online space. And then in May of 2010, I made a decision to file for divorce. And this was a huge turning point for me because, I didn't have that much money. I had lost my full-time job, but I still took the leap of faith. And I know one of the things that survivors struggle with is finances. So actually, I found myself in that place. But what I decided to do was to write out a check for $5,000 to file divorce proceedings. Because I said to myself, for me, I am not going to stay in this marriage and suffer. Because there was also financial abuse. I found out that he had written balance transfer checks against our credit to buy mutual funds. And
Okay.
I found myself $50,000 in the hole. So my credit was like literally down. I was able to rebuild it back up, but it took a year after my divorce. So I became involved in the online space. I did go to a therapist who actually went through something similar. So we had a lot in common, and she helped me navigate the divorce, the whole process. And, I realized through a lot of self-awareness and self-healing that I'm able to live on my own and reclaim my identity and reclaim my life and power back. So a year later, I got divorced. Divorce became final. I was the happiest girl in the whole world. You should have seen me. So there was a divorce party that some friends held for me. And I never looked back. Once I moved.
I know for a lot of people,
Yes.
Angeline, who are in that space, it honestly can feel completely impossible to get out. I mean, there are just so many people, and even just hearing you, I mean, clearly there were years that went by when you knew that you wanted out, but it took a long time. When you look back at your own journey, was there a moment when you kind of realized that you were ready to get out?
I realized in 2008, in June, we had lost over $100,000 in mutual funds because his reckless, whatever, investing. We lost like half of our life savings. So that's when I realized that I needed to get out, but I wasn't able to get out at the time. Again, I got involved in a company that changed my life at the time. So I sought mentorship beyond what the therapist did for me. I invested in myself, and I had some money put aside so I could, so I could work on myself. And I did a lot of research, I had no computer, everyone. So I know some of you will say, well, I don't have a computer. You could go to the public library. So I went to the public library, and I worked a lot behind the scenes, and I got involved in a network marketing company that at that time changed my life. It was a health and wellness company. So I started to feel better about myself. I really started to, then I said I could go through anything. If I could go through a brutal divorce, then if I can, anyone can do it. It's that shift in your mindset to stop playing the victim. So I surrendered my ego, my pride and my ego. I actually went to the priest at that time, the pastor, for advice, and he said, you don't deserve this. He said, just make a plan and leave. So I made a plan. And executed that plan with the assistance of the New York State Police and the local sheriff's office in Dutchess County, New York. So wherever I was basically living like a gypsy for 1 year. So, I was on limited funds. It was a big wake up call for me, because you go like from, like on the outside, people thought that we were the happiest Hollywood couple, labels Hollywood couple, but that wasn't the case behind closed doors. So I knew that I had suffered the abuse, and then I recognized it, surrendered, and I said, I'm going to make a plan. No matter what life throws at me, I am going to get through this. So the most important thing that I did was to seek community, a community of support, mentorship, leaders who believed in me. And, that was so good for me because I started to believe in myself again. Believe in yourself, because when you believe in yourself, you could achieve anything that you set your mind to. So that was huge for me. That was huge.
And that is huge. I mean, coming out of that situation, I know a lot of people really struggle with trusting
That's
themselves
true. They
again,
do.
right? And really struggle with that healing process. It's not just about moving on, right? Talk to us about what that healing process looks
Yes, the
like.
healing process was I journaled, and I do this every single day without fail. I start to focus on gratitude and the things that I am grateful for. So I have a daily journal. I have journals all over my apartment, by the way. But, anyways, but yeah, journaling. I focused on prayer. I leaned into God. Um, and I've worked on myself for a long, long time. So the healing process is ongoing. It's
Sure.
ongoing. It takes a lot of inner work, shadow work, mirror work, peeling back the layers. And I had a mentor, for 3 years, and he changed my life. He changed my life. And then I realized through all that self awareness healing, there's a lot of self awareness that's involved when you're healing from domestic violence or narcissistic abuse or some sort of abuse, a divorce, anything. You don't know who you are after you leave. You don't know who you
Right.
are because you've been beaten down to the ground emotionally. So, I got my confidence back, and I launched my podcast 6 years ago, Let's Break the Silence, because my mission and vision is to empower women to share their real life stories of how they overcame domestic violence. What is their story? Because we all have the power to rewrite our stories. We all have the power to amplify our voices. Our voices must be heard, especially now. I see domestic violence on the increase again, unfortunately. You read reports and it's like, my advice is don't stay in the relationship. If I had to go back all over again, but, obviously everything is a learning experience, that I would have left probably in 2000, 2001. I would have left a long, long, long time ago. So, when you recognize those signs, those red flags, get out, make a plan, and leave. And so that's what the healing process looks like. It's a lot of inner work. You have to get to the
Sure.
root of the problem. What's causing you to feel this way? What's causing you to not even leave your abuser? What's the root cause? Is it because of shame, guilt? And that's where I come in, not only with the podcast, but with my coaching program. So to uncover those layers, to peel back those layers, and to stand in your truth, to help women step into their divine destiny, because we're all destined for greatness. And we're all destined for
Absolutely.
greatness. We all have that sleeping giant, I say, within us that's ready to roar.
For some of our listeners, Angeline, who might be in either a difficult or abusive, toxic marriage, what would you recommend to them as like the first steps? What can they do to start to get out, to rebuild their confidence? What
Okay,
comes
so here's
first?
what I did. I would go out by myself, go to a yoga class. I would go attend free yoga classes. I would find out what lights you up, write it down. Like the first thing, what is your passion? Is it poetry? And I've had a lot of women, who have come to me writing poetry. It's an outlet, you know. It's
Sure.
that's part of the healing process too. But like even just for me, when I traveled to Saratoga Springs to look for a place, I would take a walk in the park. The healing, because healing is a huge process. So I got out. I sought outlets. I sought communities. I became involved in a few organizations that changed my life too. So just getting outside of yourself, if that makes sense. Because if you just sit home all day, you're going to be miserable. you're going to be miserable, because that happened to me. I was like, I felt that there was no life after divorce. Like, what do I do
Mhm.
now? But just getting out there will build up your confidence. Speaking, like for me, now I speak on stages, on virtual stages, and in person. So just getting out there and getting involved in things that light you up. Like if you want to take,
It's such a good point. So much of when you're in a situation like that, your view of what's possible and even what exists is so limited, right? But as you start to get out of whatever that typical pattern is, when you start to interact with other kinds of people, your worldview changes, right? What's possible
right,
changes. So that's so powerful, just getting out of your own space.
exactly. Oh, that's huge. Very powerful. Very powerful. Getting out of your own space is huge. And I had a young woman recently. She is actually a moderator of my Facebook group. And last year she was in a dark place. Actually, no, 6 months ago, she was in a dark place, but she wouldn't talk about it. Now she wants to share her story on my podcast, and we're going to work on scheduling that. So she's ready to share her story. She is like real, raw, unfiltered story of her coming out. And then she talked about, like there are a lot of mean girls out there. She's young. So, like people making fun of you, like there's a lot of cruelness out there, because there's a lot of,
Especially
especially
online.
online, right? Especially online. They don't understand. Unless you've
Yeah.
walked in my shoes, you have nothing to say. Like you could be, listen, I mean, I have, I've been criticized too. Like, why didn't you leave sooner? That's the
Mhm.
big thing that they do.
Yeah.
But people don't understand. It's a process. Now, for me, that was a process. I had to overcome a
Sure.
limiting belief. I had to shatter it, and finally I did. I took ownership. I shattered that belief, that limiting belief that I couldn't leave. That's a limiting belief. Those are lies that you're telling yourself. So I shattered that, and that was it. It was all upwards from there. Yeah, all upwards from there. So that was huge, and just becoming self-aware, more self-awareness. So
Angeline, you mentioned a couple of different people who really supported you in your journey. And, community is clearly central to the work that you do. Why do you think it's so important not to heal
we
alone?
cannot. I learned this a long time ago. We cannot heal alone. This is not something, like some people will say, I'm turning inward and disappearing for a while. No, 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 no. That's a cry for help. When I see that, it's time to get involved in a community. So for me, that was huge to become more involved in community, even just like there's a lot of meetup groups now. There's so many resources that women can tap into now, actually more than what I did 17 years ago, you know? So, for me, it's just, I did a lot of research, but now like online, there are so many women's groups. There's so many support groups out there. They're going to support you. You just have to take that first step. They can't force you to join. It's like going to a
That's
Bible
right.
study. You want to go to a Bible study, but they're not going to hound you to join. It has to come from here. So
Right.
we cannot heal alone. And I always say this, you need a community of leaders, mentors, sisters, leaders who are on a higher level than you, because that's where you belong. You don't belong with people, because like some family members won't support you. So that's one of the
Mhm.
things I learned too. Like some people will not support you. Um, so getting away from toxic relationships, getting away from toxic friendships, and just, you know, oops, building a community.
We have a membership program called the Empowered Sisterhood, and it's so wonderful, especially, it's not necessarily for people who have just gone through a divorce, but we do have several members who have recently gone through divorce. And some of what you were talking about, Angeline, really, really resonated because a lot of our sisters have found their relationships with family members or other people close to them in their lives are just not the same after divorce, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times people are feeling lost and they're feeling alone. And I think having all of these different resources is like literally at your fingertips, like so great. But it can also feel really overwhelming for people. And I think you said something really important, and that's to do your research. And it's okay to try these places out, right? Try a support group, try our sisterhood, try, a coach, see what resonates and feels good for you,
a while, I belonged to a women's group in Saratoga Springs, and I would go to meetings, and, it was very empowering. So like for me, I have a membership program too for domestic violence survivors. So people can join my community. They can join, it's a mini course, I call it. It's a mini course to help you become more self-aware and to help you step into your purpose by learning to meditate, learning to be comfortable in the silence. And I still do this. Like, for example, yesterday morning, I live in a 55 plus residential community. So I moved to Florida last year. So I sat on the front porch, had my coffee, quiet, learning to be comfortable in the silence. And I meditated. And every morning when I wake up, I do not look at social media, stay away from the news. Don't look at your phone when you first wake up. I mean, I've done that a few times myself, but, just like I go to my quiet place, which is the couch, and I journal and I meditate and I pray for 1 hour. And that gets you in the right mindset, the right headspace, because
what a powerful practice. Absolutely.
That's one of the things that my mentor taught me, was to be in a state of gratitude. And now with the holiday season coming up, some of you may be feeling alone, even though, like, some women, like, I was just reading a post this morning, actually, I'm going to court today and this is hard because she's not aware of it subconsciously. She's still emotionally attached to her ex, even though you want the divorce and everything. There's still an emotional attachment. So that's where I come in to help you peel back those layers. So, yeah.
Excellent. And you mentioned journaling as a practice a couple of times. And I know you have a free resource on your website that, for those who might not be familiar with journaling, may find helpful. Tell us about that.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up, because this is all about self-awareness. It's free. So go to letsbreakthesilence.com/journal prompts. And when you click on that link, you'll have to put your name and email in there, and then you'll receive an email of all the journal prompts. It's a workbook, actually. Self-reflective workbook, because I did it too. Yeah. I mean, one time I just took my own course and I was like, wow, this is good. It's self-reflection.
Sure.
That's what this journey is all about, everyone. It's like self-reflection. You have to self-reflect. Now that we're going into Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, it's time to start to get focused again, to get reset. I call it reset. So those journal prompts are going to be life-changing. Yeah.
Excellent. And I'm sure people would love to connect with you online. Where are you most active online?
I'm mostly active online on Facebook at Angeline Constantinou. So, yeah.
Excellent. So we will include the link to the journal prompts and the link to Facebook in the show notes. So if you would like to connect with Angeline, you'll know how to do that. Angeline, any final words for our audience?
Yes. My final words are my final words today are to not give up. Do not give up. Stay the course. And just be mindful that you're stepping into a new version of yourself. Yes, it is scary going through a divorce because you go to court and you hear all kinds of things, but stay the course. Stay the course. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Have faith, because when you believe in yourself and lean into God and lean into faith, amazing things happen. Focus on gratitude. Focus on what you are grateful for today. And I started by writing 3 things that I was grateful for. Now it's expanded to like 15. So write down at least 3 things that you are grateful for. And it's going to change your life, because gratitude opens up the world of abundance. So my message is that there's hope. There is life on the other side of divorce. There is. Trust me, there is. So there's life on the other side.
And one of the things I
The
found,
grass is greener on the other
one of the
side. So
things,
don't stay stuck. You know what my advice is? You are worthy and you deserve to live the life that you truly deserve to live. So
absolutely, 100%. And one of the things I found, if any of you are trying a gratitude practice and you're finding it's hard initially because you're in the thick of the ick, as Lisa likes to say, that as you do it, you will find that you will start looking all day long for things that you are grateful for. And it just changes your view of the world. So even if it's a struggle at first, I think it's a wonderful practice to try for sure. Angeline, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I really appreciate your willingness to share your story, because there are so many people who do feel stuck, and knowing that people have gotten out and knowing that people are living a life that they love is such an inspiration for those who are feeling stuck. So thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure, Leah. I hope that this podcast episode will inspire each and every one to take action and to, take action.
Absolutely. And for our audience, thank you so much for being with us today, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for joining me on Intentional Divorce Insights. It's a privilege to share this time with you. I hope each episode offers valuable guidance to navigate your journey. If you find our content helpful, please leave a review to help others discover the benefits of intentional decision-making in divorce. Until next time, take care and continue to embrace your path with intention.